Welcome to an in-depth exploration of how average people perceive the enigmatic Sigma male. I'm thrilled to take you on this journey through the mysterious world of the Sigma archetype, a man who exists outside traditional hierarchies, yet commands respect through his actions rather than words. Before we dive into these 9 fascinating chapters, I want to invite you to subscribe to the official Sigma Male channel. Why? Because understanding the Sigma mindset isn't just about knowledge, it's about transformation. Each video we release is carefully crafted to help you develop the traits that make Sigmas so compelling and respected. Hit that subscribe button now to join a community of men dedicated to authentic self-improvement without the noise and hype found elsewhere. Strategic solitude. The average person often misinterprets the Sigma male's preference for solitude as antisocial behavior or even arrogance. What they fail to understand is that this solitude is strategic rather than accidental. When a Sigma chooses to be alone, he's not running from social interaction. He's running toward self-mastery. Most people operate from a place of social dependency, constantly seeking validation and connection. They perceive someone who thrives in solitude as strange or suspicious. Why doesn't he want to hang out? Does he think he's better than us? These questions reveal more about their insecurities than about the Sigma's intentions. In reality, the Sigma male uses solitude as a tool for growth. While others spend hours in meaningless social gatherings, he invests that time in developing skills, expanding knowledge, or reflecting on his path. This intentional isolation creates the foundation for his independent thinking and freedom from social conditioning. Consider how people react when they meet someone who regularly takes solo trips, eats alone at restaurants without staring at their phone, or declines invitations to high-energy social events in favor of more meaningful pursuits. There's often a mixture of confusion and subtle admiration. They wonder how someone can be so comfortable in their own company while simultaneously wishing they possessed the same ability. The Sigma's comfort with solitude becomes particularly evident during challenging times. When external conditions force isolation, as we saw during global lockdowns, many people struggled significantly with being alone. Meanwhile, the Sigma adapted quickly, having already built the mental framework for productive solitude. 2. Financial independence. The average person perceives the Sigma male's approach to money with a mixture of respect and puzzlement. Unlike the flashy displays of wealth associated with alpha types or the financial struggles often experienced by those lower in traditional hierarchies, the Sigma pursues quiet financial independence. Most people live paycheck to paycheck, trapped in cycles of consumer debt and status-driven purchases. When they encounter a Sigma who drives a modest but reliable car, lives below his means, and invests strategically rather than consuming conspicuously, they often fail to understand his motivations. Why doesn't he upgrade his phone? He can clearly afford it, they might wonder. The answer lies in the Sigma's prioritization of financial freedom over social signaling. He understands that true power comes not from displaying wealth, but from having options, the ability to walk away from unfavorable situations, take calculated risks, or weather economic storms. The Sigma's financial strategy typically involves multiple income streams, strategic investments, and minimal debt. He values assets that generate passive income over liabilities that drain resources. This approach creates the freedom that forms the backbone of his independent lifestyle. When colleagues are trapped in jobs they hate because they've inflated their lifestyles to match their incomes, the Sigma maintains the option to leave. When friends feel pressured to work overtime to afford luxury items that depreciate rapidly, the Sigma invests in experiences and assets that enrich his life and portfolio. This financial self-sufficiency contributes significantly to how others perceive him. as someone who operates according to his own rules rather than external expectations or pressures. Mental resilience. Perhaps no trait distinguishes the Sigma male more clearly in the eyes of average people than his exceptional mental resilience. In a world where many struggle with anxiety, emotional volatility, and external validation, the Sigma's psychological fortitude stands out dramatically. When faced with setbacks that would devastate others, the Sigma demonstrates a remarkable ability to maintain composure and perspective. This isn't because he doesn't experience negative emotions. He simply doesn't allow them to dictate his actions or decisions. The average person observes this resilience with a mixture of admiration and suspicion. Doesn't he care? They might wonder when the Sigma remains calm during workplace drama or relationship challenges. What they miss is that the Sigma processes these situations differently, evaluating them based on long-term significance rather than immediate emotional impact. This mental strength comes from the Sigma's commitment to reality-based thinking. While others construct elaborate narratives to protect their egos or conform to social expectations, the Sigma pursues truth even when uncomfortable. He recognizes that psychological comfort often comes at the expense of growth and accurate perception. Consider how people react when someone doesn't join in, complaining about shared difficulties, or doesn't seek sympathy for personal challenges. There's often discomfort because the Sigma's resilience highlights others' fragility, his ability to face adversity without drama or victimhood. Narratives challenges the coping mechanisms many rely on. This resilience isn't just passive endurance, but active adaptation. The Sigma doesn't merely survive difficult circumstances, he extracts value from them, converting obstacles into opportunities for development. This capacity for positive transformation further distinguishes him in the perception of average observers. 4. Social mastery. The Sigma male's relationship with social dynamics creates perhaps the most intriguing paradox in how average people perceive him. Despite his preference for independence and solitude, the Sigma often demonstrates remarkable social effectiveness when he chooses to engage. Most people assume that social skill comes from constant practice and prioritizing group activities. They're often confused when they encounter someone who operates primarily alone, yet can navigate social situations with natural ease and influence. This contradiction challenges their understanding of how social power works. The average observer notices that the Sigma doesn't employ typical status-seeking behaviors. He doesn't interrupt to be heard, name-drop to impress, or adjust his opinions to match the group. Yet somehow, when he speaks, people listen. When he offers an opinion, it carries weight. This presents a puzzle. How can someone gain social influence while seemingly ignoring the conventional rules? The answer lies in the Sigma's authentic self-possession. While others frantically signal value through external validation, the Sigma's value is intrinsic and therefore more compelling. He's not trying to convince anyone of his worth. He simply embodies it. People also notice the Sigma's selective socialization. He's not antisocial, he's strategically social. He engages deeply with those who offer meaningful connection while avoiding energy-draining interactions. This selectivity signals high personal value. He's not available to everyone at all times. Perhaps most significantly, the Sigma demonstrates the ability to be socially present without being socially dependent. He can enjoy group dynamics without requiring them for his sense of identity or well-being. This freedom from social need paradoxically increases his social appeal, creating a gravitational pull that others notice but struggle to replicate. 5. Physical development. The average person's perception of the Sigma male's physical presence reveals interesting insights into broader social expectations around masculinity and self-development. Unlike the showy physicality often associated with alpha types, The Sigma's approach to physical development tends to be functional, consistent, and personal rather than performative. Most people approach fitness either as a purely aesthetic pursuit or neglect it entirely. They either train for the beach photo or don't train at all. The Sigma, however, views physical development as an integral part of his overall capability and well-being. This functional approach sometimes confuses observers who are accustomed to more conventional motivations. When people encounter a man who maintains impressive physical condition without constantly discussing it, posting about it, or using it as a primary source of identity, they often find it refreshing yet puzzling. How does he stay so disciplined without the external accountability of a gym community or social media validation? They wonder. The answer lies in the Sigma's intrinsic motivation. His physical practice isn't dependent on external recognition, but on personal standards and the tangible benefits he experiences. He trains not for others' approval, but for his own functionality, longevity, and mental clarity. This self-contained approach extends to his training environments and methods. While others need the energy of crowded fitness classes or the latest trending workouts, the Sigma often gravitates towards sustainable, proven approaches that can be maintained regardless of external circumstances. The physical presence of the Sigma male typically reflects this philosophy: capable rather than showy, functional rather than purely aesthetic, and consistent rather than cyclical. This balanced approach to physical development contributes significantly to the quiet confidence that others perceive in his overall demeanor. 6. Emotional control. Few aspects of the Sigma male generate more complex perceptions among average people than his emotional self-regulation. In a cultural landscape increasingly characterized by emotional expression and vulnerability, the Sigma's measured approach to feelings can seem either refreshingly mature or puzzlingly restrained, depending on the observer. Most people experience emotions as overwhelming forces that dictate their behavior, decisions, and interactions. When they encounter someone who maintains perspective during emotional situations, neither suppressing feelings nor being controlled by them, they often struggle to categorize this response. The average person might misinterpret the Sigma's emotional control as coldness or detachment. Doesn't he care? They wonder when he remains calm during conflicts that would trigger outbursts in others. What they miss is the crucial distinction between experiencing emotions and being governed by them. The Sigma understands that emotions provide valuable information but make poor masters. He feels deeply but processes deliberately, separating the initial emotional response from his chosen action. This ability becomes particularly evident during high-pressure situations where others might resort to emotional reactions they later regret. This controlled approach extends to positive emotions as well. While many become recklessly optimistic during good times, abandoning prudence in favor of emotional highs, the Sigma maintains perspective. He enjoys success without becoming attached to it, preserving his equilibrium through life's inevitable fluctuations. Perhaps most importantly, the Sigma's emotional self-regulation creates a space of stability that others often find quietly compelling. In personal and professional contexts where emotional volatility is common, his consistent demeanor becomes a gravitational center, not because he's emotionless, but because he's emotionally sovereign. 7. Time management. The Sigma male's relationship with time represents one of the most subtle yet significant differences that average people notice in his approach to life. In a world of reactivity and distraction, his deliberate allocation of this non-renewable resource stands out dramatically, though many struggle to articulate exactly what makes his temporal approach so distinctive. Most people surrender their time to external demands, social obligations, and algorithmic attention capture. They react to notifications, fill available hours with low-value activities, and wonder where their days have gone. When they encounter someone who protects his time with the same care others might protect their money, it creates a noticeable contrast. The average observer might interpret the Sigma's time boundaries as selfishness or rigidity. Why can't he just go with the flow? They wonder when he declines last-minute invitations or limits availability for non-essential meetings. What they miss is that his apparent inflexibility with time enables his freedom in more meaningful ways. The Sigma understands that time is the ultimate zero-sum game. Every hour spent on one activity is permanently unavailable for another. He allocates this precious resource according to his values and objectives rather than social expectations or momentary impulses. This intentional approach becomes particularly evident in how the Sigma engages with technology. While many are tethered to devices that fragment their attention and dictate their responses, he maintains digital boundaries that serve his priorities rather than external agendas. People also notice the Sigma's comfort with deep work and sustained focus. In environments where constant connectivity and multitasking are normalized, his ability to engage single-mindedly with important tasks signals a level of self-determination that many find both intimidating and admirable. The answer lies in the Sigma's intrinsic motivation. His physical practice isn't dependent on external recognition, but on personal standards and the tangible benefits he experiences. He trains not for auth. The cumulative effect of this temporal sovereignty is a life that progresses deliberately rather than drifts accidentally, a distinction that becomes increasingly apparent to observers over time. Purpose-driven life. Perhaps nothing distinguishes the Sigma male more profoundly in the perception of average people than his orientation toward purpose. In a cultural landscape where many drift through life responding to external expectations and immediate gratifications, the Sigma's directional clarity creates a contrast that others can sense even without fully understanding it. Most people construct their lives around socially prescribed milestones and conventional sources of meaning. When they encounter someone operating from internal coordinates, pursuing objectives that may not align with standard measures of success, they often experience a mixture of curiosity and discomfort. The average observer might interpret the Sigma's purpose-driven approach as excessive seriousness or lack of spontaneity. Why can't he just enjoy life? They wonder when he declines activities that don't align with his objectives or values. What they miss is that his commitment to purpose doesn't diminish enjoyment, but rather deepens it through meaningful engagement. The Sigma understands that fulfillment comes not from accumulating pleasant experiences, but from directional progress and contribution. He evaluates opportunities not just by their immediate appeal, but by their alignment with his larger vision. A filtering mechanism that eliminates much of the noise that distracts others. This purposeful orientation becomes particularly evident during transitional periods or setbacks. While many become disoriented when conventional pathways are disrupted, the Sigma adapts quickly because his sense of direction transcends specific circumstances or social frameworks. People also notice the Sigma's unusual relationship with motivation. While others require external incentives, accountability structures, or emotional states to take action, he moves consistently from internal conviction regardless of temporary feelings or external validation. The cumulative effect of this purpose-driven approach is a life trajectory that appears intentional rather than accidental, a distinction that becomes increasingly apparent and compelling to observers over time. The Sigma mindset. At the core of how average people perceive the Sigma male lies a fundamental recognition of his distinctive mindset. a psychological orientation so different from conventional patterns that it creates an unmistakable impression even when not fully understood. Most people construct their identities, decisions, and worldviews in reference to external hierarchies and social validation. When they encounter someone operating from genuine self-determination, evaluating situations based on personal values, rather than social positioning, it creates a cognitive dissonance that's difficult to ignore. The average observer might interpret the Sigma's independent mindset as arrogance or rebellion. Who does he think he is? They wonder when he bypasses conventional wisdom or ignores status games that others consider essential. What they miss is that his approach isn't about opposition to others, but alignment with himself. The Sigma understands that true freedom begins with mental sovereignty, the ability to think independently without being constrained by groupthink, social pressure, or ideological capture. This cognitive independence becomes particularly evident during polarized discussions where most people adopt pre-packaged positions while the Sigma considers issues on their merits. People also notice the Sigma's unusual relationship with personal development. While many approach self-improvement as a response to social inadequacy, I need to fix myself to be accepted, the Sigma pursues growth from a position of self-acceptance and intrinsic motivation. He doesn't improve to become worthy. He improves because growth itself is valuable. Perhaps most significantly, the Sigma's mindset is characterized by mental ownership, taking full responsibility for his psychological responses rather than projecting blame outward. In a cultural landscape increasingly characterized by victimhood narratives, this ownership mentality stands out dramatically. The cumulative effect of this independent mindset is a presence that others experience as authentic rather than performative, a quality increasingly rare and valuable in environments dominated by social positioning and impression management. As we conclude this exploration of how average people perceive the Sigma male, I hope you've gained valuable insights into this compelling archetype and perhaps recognized aspects of the Sigma within yourself. The journey toward greater self-determination, mental resilience, and purposeful living isn't just about personal development. It's about becoming a man who navigates life on his own terms while earning genuine respect through his actions and character. If you've found value in these insights, I encourage you to subscribe to the official Sigma Male channel right now. Why? Because this is just the beginning. Our channel provides regular, actionable content that goes beyond theory into practical implementation, helping you develop not just the external traits, but the internal mindset that defines the true Sigma. By subscribing, you're not just following content, you're joining a community of men committed to authentic growth rather than superficial status games. Click subscribe now and take the first step toward mastering the Sigma mindset that others find so compelling.